And welcome back to Cajun Coding. This is St. Ras again, and we are continuing on with the String1 series of exercises on Codingbat in the language Java. We should be able to finish up. We only have a few exercises. I've got 4 more to do. And we're going to be continuing on with D front. Given a string, return a version without the first 2 characters. Except keep the first character if it is an A, and keep the second character if it is a B. The string may be any length, and it says harder than it looks. That sounds encouraging. Okay, so it seems like it returned a version without the first 2 characters, unless they are A and B respectively. So let's go ahead and set up our answer string, and we're going to initialize that to empty string. And it seems like this is a pretty good candidate for a for loop. Maybe a for loop's not necessary though. Yeah, I think a for loop would be overkill, because after we get past the first 2 characters, then we're going to be returning the entire rest of the string. So rather than iterate through the entire string character by character, let's just process those first 2, and then we'll print out the rest of the string. So let me see, and I haven't looked at this one in advance, so let's figure out how we're going to do this. Now, the string may be any length, so it may be an empty string. We could do this if string length equals 0, we return empty string. Takes care of that. If string length is greater than 0 and string character at the first index, which is the 0, character at 0, is equal to A, and then we're going to take the answer and append A, and that'll put that on the front. Now we're not going to put the first character if it's not an A. So once we get past that, then we don't have to worry about that. Let me see. So a second one, if string length is greater than 1 and string character at index 1 equals B, we're going to append to answer B. And if string length is greater than 2, we're going to append to answer the rest of the string, so string, substring, and we'll be starting at index, should be index 1. No, it would include, yeah, starting at 2. Then we return answer. Unclosed character literal line 7. Oh, see this? Yeah, I kind of botched this. Single quote and then the semicolon. Why was that harder than it looked? It didn't seem real tough. I'm not sure why, because I actually had more trouble with one of the earlier exercises. So sometimes sometimes they're harder than they look. Sometimes they're easier than they look. But we'll just go on, continue from there. Start word. Given a string and a second word string, we'll say that the word matches the string if it appears at the front of the string, except its first character does not need to match exactly. On a match, return the front of the string, or otherwise return the empty string. So with the string hippo, the word hi returns high, and xip returns hip. The word will be at least length 1. So we've got two strings being passed in. The str, which is our fragment that we're going to compare at the front, and then the word, which we're comparing. And we're going to be returning a string. It sounds like a lot of conditionals and ifs, thens, and stuff like that. We're just going to take this piece by piece. First, we're going to be returning a string, so let's go ahead and set up our answer. And we're going to initialize it as an empty string. Let me see. On a match, return the front of the string. So we're going to compare str to word. So this is going to be a conditional. So if word substring, and we're going to start at the beginning. Actually, it's not the very beginning on a match. So we're actually going to be comparing it from index 1 to the first number of characters equal to the length of the str string. So str length equals, and that would be str, and it's going to be substring 1 and then all the way to the end of the str string, because we're not comparing the first character, only the rest of the characters. And so this is going to close the substring, this closes the equals, and this closes our if conditional. And here's our code block. So if that returns as if that resolves to true, word matches. On a match, return the front of the string. So with the string hippo, the word hi returns, oh, I think I've got this backwards. On a string hippo, word hi returns hi, zip returns hip. So we need to switch this around. So word, it's actually going to be str. str will be word. Okay. So the hippo word hi returns hi, zip returns hip. So we're going to be returning the front of the string starting at 0 and up to the length of the word. match, otherwise return the empty string. And as it turns out, we don't actually need to have this string answer here. That's a step that we don't actually need. It looks like I messed something up. What do we do here? And I think I'm not getting enough. So this is word length minus 1. I think it's just word length. That works for the most part. We do have our old friend string index out of bounds exception. So we've got string str first, then word. See here, the str is shorter than the word. Can actually fix that with just a real short if. Str length is less than word length. Then we just return the empty string. Not the most elegant solution, but it's something maybe we could work with. Actually, we should be able to take this str length is greater than word length, and the rest of our statement there. And now everything's broken. No, it timed out. I wonder what that's going on. I've run into this before. I don't see us having an endless loop here. Okay. And I don't, and this is not a sophisticated program, I don't think there's any reason this should be timing out. It shouldn't lock everything up. So I'm going to guess that this is just a little glitch in the website. Look at that. It ran. Most of the tests pass. So that was a glitch. Every test failing was just a glitch in the website. Don't doubt yourself too much. Go ahead and hit the go button another time. Now, we do have some failed tests. So let's see what we've got here. Let me see. Hip, zip, hip. Oh, here we go. I bet we can fix this. Notice these are the same length. Okay. Greater than means that they're not the same length. So if we put an equal sign here, everything runs. See? Be careful with, and when you're dealing with equal than or greater than, less than or equal to, be careful. There's a difference between greater than and equal to or greater than. But this is a better solution because what we had before, if you'll notice, if we go back a little bit, oh, let me see. Okay. Here. You'll notice what we've got here is we have, if this is true, then we're going to return an empty string. But then we also have our empty string as a default. So what we do with the later solution is that if we're doing this as a default, we can just use this as, let this fail over to the default and roll this code into this conditional. Now in order to do that, we have to flip the direction. So it's going to be greater than or equal to and not less than. But that way we're getting rid of one of our if blocks. There's nothing wrong with if else statements, and there's nothing wrong with chaining if statements, multiple if statements, whether they're nested or if they're one after another. But we don't want more than we really need. So we'll go ahead and put this back to where it was. I think this is it. Yep, that's the one that works. And without x, given a string, if the first or last characters are x, return the string without the x characters. Otherwise, return the string unchanged. The first or last characters are x, return without x. So another way of saying that is return the string but omit any x's as the first or last character. And this seems like a better candidate for a for loop. So let me see, go ahead and put this string answer for our initialize empty. So we're going to go ahead and create our for loop into I equals 0, I is less than string str length, and our incrementor. Okay, so if I is not equal to 0, or okay, so if I is not equal to 0 and I is not equal to str length minus 1, so if I is not equal to 0, which is the first index, and I is not equal to string length minus 1, which would be the last character, then we're always going to copy the value. So we're going to add to answer plus equals character at that index, else. What's else? Else means that we're somewhere else in the array. Excuse me, not an array. So we're somewhere else in the string. If we're somewhere else in the string, which means we are at 0 or at the end, if we're at the beginning or the end, we're going to copy that value only if it's not an x. So if str character at I is not equal to x, we're going to append to answer str character at I. And then when we're done with this for loop, we return our answer string. And there we go. Let me see. I'm not sure how good this code is. I mean, it works. It does the thing, but it doesn't seem like we have an excessive number of if-else checks or anything. Let's see what their answer is. It's probably cleaner. Let me see. So what do we have here? If string length is greater than 0 and string character at 0 equals x, then str equals str substring 1. String length is greater than 0 and string character at string length -1 equals x, str equals str substring 0. Okay, so what it's doing is it's checking, what it's doing is it's not using a for loop, it's checking for those x's and just returning a substring that is truncating the original string. So we're just printing the middle of it if we have those x's there. And these are the solution notes. Check for the x in both spots. If found, use a substring to grab the part without the x. Check that the length is greater than 0 each time. The need for the second length check is tricky to see. One could use substring instead of character add to look into the string. So that's fine. This is a little more succinct. I think the for loop was probably easier cognitively. I'm guessing that the for loop is probably going to use more processing power because it has to iterate through each character. It's most definitely going to be the case if we're dealing with long strings. Good to know both ways, though. Without x2. And let me see, given a string, if one or both of the first two characters is x, return the string without those x characters. Otherwise, return the string unchanged. This is a little harder than it looks. Another one of those, a little harder than it looks. Okay. And I'm thinking that there's a way to do this. Let me see, one or both of the two characters. Okay, let's do our answer string. Oops. And we're not sure how many characters the string may have. The string may have very few characters, so let's make sure that's long enough so we're not running into out of bounds. So as to our length here is going to have to be greater than 0. Again, maybe I have a firmer grasp on things than whoever assessed that this was harder than it looks, because again, I'm not really sure why this is supposed to be difficult. I have problems with other exercises that we didn't get a warning like that on, so people do have different strengths and weaknesses there, but this is pretty simple. All we do is we set up our empty string, and they don't give us their solution, so we don't get to see what their line of thinking was. But this is, we set up our empty string, we check to see if it is a empty string that we get passed in. You know, if it's length 0, then we're just going to skip this. If there is length at least 1, if it's an X, we don't do. If it's not an X, we copy it. If it is an X, then we don't have an else. We don't need an else because we're not doing anything. Then we check to see if it's length at least 2. If it is, we check to see if the second character is an X. If it's not an X, we add it to answer. Then we and if it is an X, of course, we don't need to do anything. If string is greater than 2, string length is greater than 2, we start at index 2 and just write the rest of the string to our answer string, and then we return the answer. So not terribly difficult. And that's it for our String1 series of exercises. And I believe we're going to start with Array1 next time. And that's arrays are an important data structure in Java as well as many other languages. So we'll get into that. And then maybe go into Logic 1 after that. But thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. As always, like, subscribe, comment. Any questions or requests are welcome. And I'll see you guys next time.